There definitely is a story behind it. So, back in 2008, 2009, I collaborated with some of my colleagues at FIU to create this basically what could be considered a video opera. And it was commissioned by the Biennale in Zagreb, Croatia. And for that particular piece, I worked with Jacek Kolasinski, visual artist, John Stewart, architect who also does video work, and Campbell McGrath, a great poet, writer, and all FIU colleagues. And so we put this piece together that I had kind of been working on the side for a while, called Transcending Time. And in the work, and I won't take up too much time because I want to get to the jacket, but in the work, um, John got to do, what I did is I created 10 tracks of sound, electronics. And so each one got one track. So I gave, I forget if it was Jacek or John, I gave one of them 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and they went 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I said, here's the idea of the piece. The piece is about entities that are in a current state that needs to be changed. Then there's a transformation, and then there's a new state. That's it. I'm not going to get more narrative than that, I told them. So, I mean, you can make up whatever you want. You can make it into a science fiction movie if you want or whatever. But that's the basic idea. And the tracks more or less that correspond to those changes would be, 1 through whatever is more or less the first state, 4 through 6 is the other, 7 through whatever is the other. So you guys decide what you're going to do. So they went separately and they created videos on each of those tracks. And it turns out that, at least in the case of Jacek, he had images of his, I think it was his uncle in Poland, walking through different parts of Poland, of the countryside, going through, bombed out, what looks like bombed out churches, and walking through, forests, and walking through whatever. And he's in a kind of biohazard suit. That's a white biohazard suit that has these little crosses on it. And he's walking past like mosques and all kinds of churches and things. I mean, it's pretty striking actually. It was actually, and there's no real text. I mean, the text is Campbell's text is, but it's very, the text that Campbell came up with, which is very unlike Campbell, is based on the sounds of the electronics, because he had the electronics too. So he made a poem, so to speak, or text for each of the tracks, and that's what's whispered and murmured and whatever throughout the piece. So there's no real narrative. So it's up to the people to figure out what's going on. And of course, this image of this person dressed in his biohazard suit, which at the beginning it's kind of scrambled image-wise, it's not as clear, and it gets clearer, 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 and at the very end it's super clear, and he's walking through a river. And so for whatever reason, that sequence of events gave people the idea that this was kind of an apocalyptic piece, but then at the end had a happy ending because he was cleansed in the river, so to speak. It was fantastic to see the interpretations. But in any case, to make a long story short, I had this white jacket and I got a wine stain on it. and my wife Ceci said, "No, you can't get rid of that. That's a great jacket. You can't get rid of that." And so she said, "Why don't you ask Jacek to paint on it, to paint over the wine stain and come up with something." So I contacted him and he was very excited. Yes, oh, for sure, for sure. And then he said, "What do you think if I, use some of the symbols from Transcending Time?" And I said, "That's perfect. That's perfect." So he came up with this, and this is my artsy jacket. Um, and shout out to Jacek Kolasinski, who's a wonderful friend and wonderful artist.